Chong Jing. I'm honored to be the host for this great event. Our team are the students of the course Special Topic of Web Technology. Please be ready yourself in front of the screen. Now, let's begin this program with a player, Mohammed Daniel Aiman bin Asli. Welcome, Daniel.
Kita mulakan majlis kita dengan umul kitab Al-Fatihah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi washabbihi ajma'in. Ya Allah, ya Tuhan kami, hanya padamu sahaja kami panjangkan kesyukuran atas segala rahmat dan berkat-Mu. Bersempena dengan majlis pada hari ini, kami mohon hidayah dan taufik-Mu. Kurniakanlah kesejahteraan dan kebaikan perkara kami. Berikanlah hati-hati kami, dapatkanlah dada-dada kami supaya kami dapat mengisi ilmu dan pengetahuan yang berguna untuk agama, bangsa dan negara. Ya Allah, ya Rahman, ya Rahim, kami mohon padamu agar Engkau berkatilah majlis ini dengan limpahan rahmat-Mu. Semoga segala usaha kami dalam menjadikan majlis ini dan mendapat keredaan dari Ayah-Mu. Sesungguhnya pada hari ini kami berkumpul kerana-Mu, ya Allah. Kami berkumpul untuk menimba ilmu, bertukar pendapat, menyumbangkan buah fikiran, menghubungkan silaturahim dan mendapat sokongan ke arah meningkatkan lagi prestasi jabatan kami. Ya Allah, ya Zal wal Ikram, kami mohon kekuatan dari hadrat-Mu, ya Allah, supaya kami yang hadir pada hari ini agar dapat melaksanakan segala kebajikan. Dan kami mohon perlindungan dengan Engkau daripada melakukan keburukan. Ya Allah, kurniakan kepada kami kejayaan dalam ilmu pengetahuan dan hasillah diri kami dengan sifat lemah lembut, serta muliakanlah kami dengan ketaatan dan indahkan diri kami dengan kesihatan. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar. Sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wasallam. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Amin.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Now, I would like to invite our course instructor, Dr. Nuzraidin bin Muhammad Safar, to have a welcome speech. Welcome, Dr. Zuraidin.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Chairperson, and welcome to this small webinar. And welcome Dr. Nayef, and on behalf of class, faculty, and UTHM itself, we would like to sincerely appreciate your time to be part in our sharing session. I guess Dr. Nayef also teaching IoT. I'm not sure whether you all have the class with him or not. If so, I guess you already know him. Okay. Dr. Nayef have this vast experience in IoT and also the communication between the front end and back end of this IoT itself. Okay, hopefully this presentation by Dr. Nayef will open our mindset and then open our mind how we're going to integrate web technology and how is the important role of maybe web development in IoT and how the IoT it works fundamentally or maybe to advance. Okay. And then I guess the session by Dr. Nayef also will benefit you, maybe for your idea in PSM or maybe your future career, because this course is for final year student where you all going to join the industry. So maybe Dr. Nayef that have the good experience in these IoT things, maybe he can give an advice or guideline. What is the direction if you choose this field? On that sense, once again, welcome Dr. Nayef, and we all appreciate your time and your knowledge, your sharing knowledge session later on. Okay, thank you, Dr. Nayef.
Most welcome, Dr.
All right.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zraidin. Now is the time for our speaker. But before we get started, I would like to remind everyone, if you have any questions during the webinar, please hold them to your finger. I'll bring them out during the Q&A sections, and we will have the time for your questions at the end. All right. I would like to turn the time over to our speaker, Dr. Nayef Abdulwahab Mohammed Alduais, sorry. For your information, Dr. Nayef is currently a lecturer and a researcher for IoT at FSKTM UTHM. Let's welcome Dr. Nayef.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum and good morning, everyone. And thank you for inviting me for this knowledge sharing. And also many thanks for Dr. Zraidi for inviting me also. Before we start, I want to be sure the screen, my screen, is it visible from your side or not? And the sound, is it okay?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. Okay, for today, we are going to talk about the web technology and also Internet of Things. Actually, some of you students already joined us in the course of IoT, so they already have some knowledge and fundamentals about IoT and what is IoT. And some of you, I think if you don't have any information or background about IoT, I think I prepare also, I repeat some fundamentals for all of you. Of course, we cannot cover to be a master in IoT in 3 hours, but at least by today, I will guide you, I will give you the importance point about IoT, and also I will share with you simple case study for my previous BSM student, and how as the student like you is computer science, and how we solved the problem and used the power of a student in web technology and integrated with IoT project. But before that, we need to give you some information for the outlines for today. We'll talk about the IoT and what is the most important features of IoT and service, and how you can thinking after graduate if you are want to complete in these directions, what you should do improve your skills, and also the benefits of IoT and web development, what you should be thinking about it, and also case study and conclusion, and we will open for question and answer. As you know, for technology, today's improve our life from different sides, comfortable, faster, and better from different sides. Before we are going to explain for you step by step what is IoT and also how we can integrate it with web technology, let us first watching together for this video.
By now, you may have heard the term Internet of Things. Sounds interesting, but what does the Internet of Things actually mean? IoT is an evolution of mobile, home, and embedded applications that are being connected to the internet, integrating greater compute capabilities and using data analytics to extract meaningful information. Billions of devices will be connected to the internet, and soon, hundreds of billions of devices. As related devices connect with each other, they can become an intelligent system of systems. And when these intelligent devices and systems of systems share data over the cloud and analyze it, they can transform our businesses, our lives, and our world in countless ways. whether it's improving medical outcomes, creating better products faster with lower development costs, making shopping more enjoyable, or optimizing energy generation and consumption. Here's an example of the big picture. Imagine an intelligent device such as a smart traffic camera. The camera can monitor the road for congestion, accidents, and weather conditions, and communicate that status to a gateway that combines it with data from other cameras, creating an intelligent citywide traffic system. Now, imagine that intelligent traffic system connected to other citywide transportation systems, which get data from their own intelligent devices, creating an ever larger intelligent system of systems. The really big possibilities come from analyzing the end-to-end data across that system of systems. For example, let's say the city's intelligent traffic system detects massive congestion due to an accident. That insight can be sent to the citywide transportation system, which can analyze the accident's impact on other city systems. Recognizing the accident is near the airport and 2 city schools, it could notify those systems so they can adjust flight and school schedules. It can also analyze and derive optimal routes around the accident and send those instructions to the city's digital signage system to guide drivers around the accident. And that's just one example of the potential benefits that can happen when intelligent devices share insight with other systems, forming ever-expanding systems of systems.
Okay. Now, currently with the revelation of industry version 4 or in this technology, we know that for the industrial production and information technology, we took now in general, we have to bridge between the industrial production and also the information technology in terms of if you are to improve the quality, efficiency, and flexibility of our product. That's mean how we can, if we talk about the new technology, how we can bridge the information or the data with the system, how we can be able to let the devices and also the software and also the people, we mean the people about the laborers or also the another systems, work together or link between all of them. This is the importance of the new technology, not just IoT and also many of new technology, how we can bring data, information, and also software systems. And also we will talk about if you already developed your IoT systems, but for the update the data for the cloud only, and what you should do after that. But we cannot go for any new technology without start learning the fundamentals. And we should, when we talk about the definition of IoT, of course, I didn't mention or want to you just to memorize or repeat what is IoT. I think most of us now, there are huge of information if you're going to search in Google or any materials. The materials and the source is huge, especially in IoT. But I will try by today to give you simple explanation and also let the definition for you is easy. We talk about IoT and also Internet of Things. Internet of Things, if we will talk about the computer networks, we can see that Internet of Things is networks of the networks. But when we will say that devices or that system, is it supported IoT or based on IoT or not? If you come to the definition, it is a symbol is network, physical, objective, or devices. So when we talk about devices, we not always we talk just about sensors. To be careful about this point, any objectives, devices, vehicles, buildings, and also any other items. But any items, we have some rules in this part. Should be, if you will talk now about the embedded electronics and software like Arduino or Raspberry or any another devices, also wearable devices like smartwatch or for healthcare, smart healthcare devices. The role here should be we have electronic devices and also software already embedded together. But in this case, we cannot see also that system already supported IoT. We should to know we have, and the networks should be connected and able to exchange the data. This is the simple scenario. This is the nodes, and also the nodes will be able to send the data to the base station, and after that collect the data if you are going to send the data directly for the base station, and collected the data at database. Of course, most of you have good knowledge about how to create and how to create database system, and from the internet we will be able, using graphic user interface or using another system, to mining our data that's already collected by the sensor. Okay. And the another second point is about IoT connections models. This very important point. What I mean about that? Based on your system, based on your scenario, you have to select which your IoT also standards communications. In this case, if you are going to design your system, if the system already designed, that's mean the sensor node will be able to send the data to the cloud directly. If the sensor data or the sensor will be able to send the data to the cloud directly, in this case, the standard communications will be different. That means I think I should to think about how I can connect to the internet, because in this case, it's impossible to send the data using traditional or common like Zigbee or another devices directly to the cloud. But if you are going to send the data, for example, to the gateway or for the base station, in this case, if you have many of devices in the specific area and you want just only one devices will be connected with the internet, in this case, you have to change the standard of communication. For example, you are going to use Zigbee or Bluetooth or another communication standard. Or the scenario, if the sensor devices will be able to send the data to another devices, for example, in the same buildings or in the same workstations place, if you have many of devices and you're planning only to exchange the data, for example, for production, that you read the temperature sensor, and based on that, the control or the process of controlling will start. In this case, if I didn't need to update the data to the cloud, in this case, just we choose the standards of communication models. We call it devices to devices. That means how we can change it. But most of you for web technology, you talk about the connected the data at the cloud, or the data will be updated to the website and how we can manage it. Okay, now we'll start step by step. First, if you most of you already heard about IoT, you will ask yourself, what is the things, or what do we mean about thing? That means if I have my current devices, any devices, let us assume that for water counter or electricity counter. When we can call that devices, is it smart or not? If you have for things, any things in this part, we talk about if the devices will be things, any devices, that means any devices will be able to exchange the data. In this case, we call it things. Sometimes we call it smart object or nodes. But the rule, any devices will be able to exchange the data with other devices. In this case, we can call it this system is based on IoT or Internet of Things. Otherwise, we cannot claim that, because some of students, especially also from faculty from electronics or computer engineering, or when they develop some systems based on Arduino or microcontrollers, we cannot here talk about IoT system. You can talk about IoT system if your devices or your system able to exchange the data between other devices or able to update the data to the cloud. In this case, we can, even if you have Arduino, but you are unable to update the data to the cloud or another devices, in this case, your system sometimes will be, we can call it, in this case, just micro electronics, or we can call it embedded system based on Arduino or microprocessor. Okay, this is the importance point for all of you. If you want to learn, if you want to start with IoT-based project, what you should to learn? First, you have to understand very well what is IoT scenario. And by today, I will give you the simple description for IoT scenario. Other things, set up and implementation skills. You have to know practically how to do it. And also, here I just highlight microcontrollers programming skills. I didn't talk just only Arduino, because Arduino is just one type of microcontroller. If you want to work with IoT-based projects, you have to learn first IoT scenario. You ask yourself, what is the IoT scenario? And based on that, you are develop or design your IoT system, set up and implementation. Of course, for you as computer science, no need to go deeply in the electronics or the circuits, how to design it or something like that. No, it's just so simple fundamentals about how to integrate it, the modules of electronic circuits, and also how to program the microcontrollers. In this part, it's not difficult, especially for computer science students. They can start directly, because most of the program language is based on C or C++ and also Python. So for you, in the previous part, and based on your knowledge during your study in computer programming subject, you already know how to program for simple scenario, how to read the value and to check the condition, make decision based on the input values or something like that. The change it will be now, instead of read the value for the variables X or Y, you are going to read the value from the sensors. That means you have to learn this so simple skills, and it's not difficult. You have to know that to be able also to develop smart projects. After that, you just heard mention about IoT project. After that, before you are going to develop your web or mobile application or website system, if you didn't understand very well the IoT system, you cannot develop efficient IoT based system. So the first advice for all of you first, if you want to learn or to start your project, just learn the IoT scenario. Of course, there are many of scenarios, and also you should to ask yourself how my project needs. Sometimes if you want just to control some devices using your mobile, in this case, if you the area that you are going to control it inside the room, for example, or inside the building, in this case, sometimes for the communication model, you can use Wi-Fi with your mobile app and no need here for the internet, but you have to take in your account the other devices, the receiver, of course, should be supported also with Wi-Fi communication model. And how we can, for you, send the data from your mobile also you can do it by Bluetooth. But what if you are going to monitoring the some parameters like air quality or thermal parameters inside the buildings, and you want to monitoring from anywhere and also anytime. And also I will suggest for you at the end some projects based on the smart buildings for you as web developers, because if you, for example, just want to use your power in your skills in web developer, you can go also how to integrate it with IoT systems. Okay, let us start with the first part you should to learn in IoT. In IoT, we have some this structure or this system maybe will be different from source to another source, but this is the important point. When you talk about even, when you talk about if you are going to develop your system, for example, for any web application or web systems based on IoT, you should to think first about what is the suitable or the benefit sensor for my system. This is the first part. This skills one, for example, if I am going to monitoring the water level, in this case, I should to select water level sensor. Here, we didn't ask you to going to design the water sensor level. No, just there are many of companies already designed the sensor. And you ask yourself, what is the benefit sensor? And also here, this is the main question you should to ask yourself when you are going to design new IoT-based system. What is the right sensor for my IoT project? And also, based on that, if you have one sensor or two or three or four, based on that, you are going to the next step, which is the IoT microcontrollers or the board that I am going to use it. Why we should to thinking about this point? Because based on if I am just using one sensor, in this case, maybe I will use simple IoT board with simple feature, even if just only supported one type of sensor, but that will solve my problem and I can build my system. And of course, you will save also in the cost of developing or design the system. Okay, and also what I should consider when I select the sensor. For example, if I am going to monitoring the temperature or humidity inside the room, of course, I should to thinking about the materials of the sensor, because if I will put the sensor indoor, it will be totally different if I am going to put my sensor or IoT devices outdoor. Outdoor, that means it will be affected by the weather. So I should to thinking about the materials of the sensor. Inside the door, it's will be there, okay? But if outside, I think I should to thinking about this point, about the materials of the sensor. And also, for example, if you are going to use the sensor for water level, in this case, how you are going to put the sensor inside the water, where the places you have to put it. And also, you should to think about the value that you are going to use it. Are you going to use to read just logic value? If you want just to read if the value of the sensor reach, for example, 3 value and just set 1 or 0, just as even basic system, or you want to monitoring the system, especially, for example, if you will collect the data for predictions or for forecasting phase. In this case, you have to thinking very well, and also the efficiency and the quality of the sensor. There are many of materials for all of you as UTHM and SKTM student. You can take the slides I have discussed in details about this role, what you should to do when you select your sensor. Second part, okay. For the first part, again, you have to select your sensors. Based on your project, you have to select the sensor. If you are going to monitoring, for example, the light inside the room, if you want to develop, for example, one system to save the energy efficiency inside the building, you have to install light sensor. So in this case, based on the value or the density of the light, you will turn on or turn off the system. Okay, what happens if you are going to develop the system, for example, to open or close the door when someone in front of the door? So in this case, you have to develop to search about motion sensor. Okay, what if I want to measure or measure the distance? Here I should be thinking about ultrasonic sensor. If I want to, for example, for healthcare, if I want to monitoring the heartbeat for the patient, in this case, I should to use heartbeat sensor. In summary, I want to say that based on your project, planning very well, after that, select your sensor. And also, sometimes you are, for the traditional sensors, maybe the circuit or the designer of the circuit, it's difficult for you as computer science to integrate it with board. So easily, you have to select only when you search about the sensor model, just search about the sensor, search sensor module. Sensor module, this will be already integrated with resistance and everything. For you, just plug and play. No need to add resistance or to add any complex integrated electronic circuit. This is the easy way for you. Second part. Now, after I select my sensors, after that, what I should to do, I have to read, because we talk about the sensor. The sensors is convert the physical environment to digital value, for the digital value. For example, temperature, light, humidity, or any type of sensor. After that, I have to read it. I have to read this value. Even the value will be logic, that means 0 or 1, or will be analog, that means I have ring of the value. And of course, for this sensors, maybe sometimes will be inaccurate when you read the value. We have some errors, but we have some mechanism how we can detect that. At least now, we just to think about the sensors, how I select the sensors. Second part, ask yourself, which is the suitable board or IoT board I will use it. We call it local processing. If you are going to use Arduino, some of the students or some of you, when you these things, or already the Arduino able, when I connected now the sensors with the Arduino, that's mean in this case, I have already IoT system. Of course, not. No, that's not correct. And also, when you talk about here local processing, up to you. And there are huge of numbers of IoT sensor boards based on the company and the manufacturer. Just here in general, but the way and the standard or the direction that you are going or the skills you have to gain, it's the same. Press sensor, and after that, ask yourself which is the suitable board I should to read the sensor. For example, if I will, this is just a picture to show you the type of local processing. This Arduino Uno, for example, is it the Arduino Uno ready to exchange the data with other devices wirelessly? Let us see. And also, if I'm doing if I have, for example, one sensor, select the boards, it will be different if I have 3 or 4 sensors in this case. You should to think about that. How you know that? Currently, no need to do anything. It's just when you select your IoT sensor board, just read the feature and the characteristics that's already provided by the designer. They will tell you everything about it, and we call it global input-output bins for each one. And you should to know about that, how many input and also how many output, and based on that, you'll be able to program your board. Okay, after I read the data now, after I get the sensor, and after that, read it by local processing. And this local processing will be different, and the size also will be different. Now, we can call the popular version of Arduino. But now we talk also about tiny devices. The devices is more suitable, and also the size of the devices. For example, if I'm going to monitoring the heartbeat or some parameters in the human body for wearable system. In this case, of course, I should be thinking also about the size of the devices. The size of the devices, I can use nano or micro Arduino. Now we talk about that. Okay, and also if you want just to collect the data, you can also thinking about the local storage that you want to save the data. If you want to collect the data, and after that, here we didn't talk about Internet of Things or exchange the data. But after that, you have, if you want to update the data to the cloud, you should to thinking about the communication network. Again, for this scenario, the scenario to be clear, this scenario to update the data to the cloud, because for web applications or web developers, they thinking about anything related for browser or internet. So you should to ask yourself, okay, I have now sensors already read the sensors using as any type of version of IoT sensor boards, up to you. And also, if you want to save the data, it's okay as backup data, or if you want to update the data to the cloud. If you want to update data to the cloud, if you stop here for this Arduino Uno, for example, or any version, you should to ask yourself first, is this board supported any communication standards or not? What I mean about communication standards, is it supported, for example, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or GSM for say SIM card? So here, based on the scenario, you have to decide that. If you, sometimes you can use you can use two Arduino or two devices using Wi-Fi, but without internet service, just to communicate to devices. But here we talk about the devices or your system will be able to update the data to the cloud or to your browser or your web server. So in this case, you have two choices. Select Wi-Fi, but Wi-Fi here we will not use it as to transmit the data. We use the Wi-Fi to connect to the internet service, to provide the internet service. Okay, now someone will ask about, okay, if I didn't like to use Wi-Fi, for example, for water monitoring or water quality, if I will put it in outside of the city, or so in this case, there is no Wi-Fi. In this case, you need just any type of standard communication to provide you with the internet. So in this case, no need to use Wi-Fi shelled or Wi-Fi communication. In this case, you can provide with your local processing or your board, IoT board, with GSM shell. There are some of GSM shell. You can put SIM card, and the SIM card, of course, will be provided with the internet service. So in this case, you will be able, after you read the data, you should to have some, you should to take into account, my board, is it able to connect with the internet? Of course, we talk about hardware. That means if the board didn't have any standards communication, it will be difficult also to transfer the data. So thinking about it. So for that, sometimes if I found some boards like Node MCU, this already integrated or integrated with the Wi-Fi module. So in this case, it's better for me to buy Arduino, and also I need also another Wi-Fi chip. One board already integrated with Wi-Fi. That means I will save the cost and also the time. No need to install or integrate it again. Last point for this part, your data will be uploaded to the cloud. Of course, if you update the data to the cloud, we talk about web server, how we can post our data, read it by the sensor, to the cloud using the protocol. It's exactly like what you have done when you update the data from graphic user interface. When, for example, for your graphic user interface, to ask the user to enter their name and also details, and after that update the data for your web server. is the same. You have to use the suitable protocols. There are different protocols, and to update your data to the cloud. Of course, sometimes someone of you will say, is it possible to update my data to my own web server? Of course, yes, you can do it. But what we talk about now, it's easily to use cloud platform, too easy to integrate it with others system. And also this IoT cloud platforms will provide with you for security and privacy, and also it will be easy for you if you want to add many of projects in future. Okay, and also for IoT cloud platform, there are many of IoT cloud platform, not just one, but the way or the method is the same. I need to update my data to the cloud. So in this case, what I should to do, I should to go, for example, for IoT ThinkSpeak. This provided by MathWorks and MATLAB company. This platform, they will provide with you with some code and some scenario. You should to flow it to update the data. You have first to register at the cloud, and they will give you the name of channels and also the API, and I will talk about the API application program interface, how that will be help you to update your data. And after that, you will write the code here to update the data to the cloud. And also from the cloud, sometimes this is the scenario. Why I said to the cloud, it will be, your project will be more flexible. Because sometimes if let us assume this scenario. I develop now here at Batubahat or Johor for monitoring the weathers, okay? And I want to make decision based on Johor weather, but not at KL. In this case, based on the cloud that's already updated the data, at the same, if I am able to update the data to the cloud, at the same, I will be able to read the data from the cloud. And this the secret, or this the role for you as web developer if you want to design some web-based system for management of managing the devices. And this the role. Again, for IoT cloud platforms, there are many of cloud from Amazon and also from Microsoft, and also the huge of number of IoT cloud platforms. Just provide with you with the service, and each platform have some scenario, how to integrate it and how to set up your sensor or your system. Last time with the previous year students, we proved that the ability after we teach the student about IoT scenario, just I teach them about how to update the data to ThinkSpeak. This is just one sample of IoT platform. And the other students for each group already chose different IoT platform, and they prove that their ability to update the data. That means the importance points again, you have to understand very well the IoT system or the IoT scenario. How to select the feature of the benefits for each part, this will be based on your choice and after you study very well your project. So before I will end this part, again, for IoT sensors, thinking about what is the type of sensor, which the IoT sensor board, not because some of us, again, some of you will buy the board, but after that thinking about how we communicate with the internet, and so they will need another devices or external devices. So thinking at the beginning, so which the better, if to use one board already integrated with Wi-Fi or standard communication or not, and after that the scenario. If I brought my devices, for example, with the area without Wi-Fi, it's better no need to use Wi-Fi module, in this case using GSM module. Also for vehicle tracking system, actually it's difficult to connect with Wi-Fi if you want to monitoring the vehicles system. So in this case, the best solution to use GSM and SIM card system. After that, update your data to the cloud. Okay. Now, after we already know have at least, as I told you, it's difficult to explain practically each point, but they already prepared some materials for you. As if SKTM student, you can, I will share with you, all of you, if you want to start your system, or if you have any issue about IoT-based project. Okay. Now, why we need and why we should to learn or to have skills in IoT, because this is the future also. Now, all IoT devices, not just impact in our life, and also in business, if you can talk about that. Now, for any IoT devices, we talk about record and transfer the data to monitoring important process. And now I hope all of you already know and already aware what we mean about record or transfer the data and what you should be thinking about. To boost of the efficiency and also for companies to make more informed decision. In this case, I will collect the data based on IoT system. And also now, most of the companies, for example, for smart panel and also for smart water counter or electricity counter, most of the previous companies or the companies now searching about the solution, how we can integrate our products with IoT. Because now with the new direction, smart cities, industry version 4, most all devices should be able to exchange the data with other devices. So in this case, if you didn't develop your product, you will be out of the marketing in this case. So the future will be about IoT devices. So for you, why you should to learn about IoT? Because sooner or later, you will come one day during your works in future, they will ask you to read the data from the user. That means the user like the web application to read it directly. You will read the data from the sensor. So in this case, you have to know what is the scenario. And also, this what I mentioned or highlighted before. If you will still with your traditional products, you will be out of competitive. So in this case, also for business, if you want to start for your business, you should to just get some idea, simple idea, and develop your system and design your platform. After that, you can start your business or your product. Okay. What happened also for why the companies should be thinking about IoT devices? Also for inside the industrial or manufacturing, in this case for automate the processing and also reduce the labor cost. And also in this case, sometimes for some devices, when I develop or my products already provided or already integrated with IoT, will improve the customer service, and also which will be easy. Now they will come your role as web developer, because when we talk about how we can follow up after sales, such as automatic tracking system or reminder customers, of course this will not be directly or by electronic students. This will come to your role in this case. That means we need developers to develop new system or new application to tracking our product. So in this case, it will be we need the web developer or web developer front end and back end or full stack developers in this case. Okay. Now we will come for our important points: IoT and web applications. In the previous part, I am already give you some fundamentals about IoT scenario. If you remind, for the previous part, just we start from sensing the data until update the data to the cloud. So in this case, some of you, when you are going to design, especially for BSM students, to design your system, you ask yourself this question: how I will be able to update my data to my website or web application from the IoT system? After that, the answer for this question is not difficult. And just I will share with you what's happened with my DSM student for last year. The student is like you, just have good experience in web design. And for IoT, they already joined IoT course, and he already successful integrated the IoT project with web. And I mean here already designed web system to manage the IoT devices. And now the future will be how we can we develop a management system for a student or for HR system. Now we will talk about how we can design new web management system to manage the IoT devices itself. And last time I shared one title for smart buildings. For now, for a smart building, they will be equipped with huge number of sensors. Of course, we need also to develop new system that, of course, will be based on web or application to manage the IoT devices to detect the physical condition of IoT devices. Is it work successfully or need maintenance or something like that, meaning the systems. And also if you want to read your data or monitoring the data. Okay. In this case, we talk about IoT and web application. That means the devices, the IoT will be linked between the devices and the people. In the previous part, if you already update the data to the cloud only, but you have now to design or to develop some tools or platforms to be able for the users as the human to communicate or to exchange the data between the devices and the people. So your role will be at this part, how to develop that system. In the futures, this just motivation for you. In the 2025, this will be huge number of devices. Huge number of devices. That means most of devices from around our lives will be already connected to the internet. So in this case, even we will ask some for example, for clinics or for hospital, they will not ask to measure the pressure or the body oxygen or something like that. They already integrated with, for example, for a smartwatch, and they directly update the data. That means you have to know about how to read the data from the system. Okay. Why we should talking about IoT at the system? Now, for you, most of you know about the web developer. I didn't go deeply in web design because most of you have good experience in this part. You already study web fundamentals of web and also web application, and you have many of another subject related. Here, just we highlight the importance point for why the benefits of IoT in web development. In the previous part, if you want to read, for example, for temperature or for the body temperature, if you want to read this value, sometimes as the normal, or if the system is not smart enough, in this case, you have the doctor will come and check the body temperature, and after that, even if you design your web application or web system, and after that will enter the value manually. So in this case, also the time, that means the delay to input the time. So how the IoT will improve the web development? That means the IoT will be provide accurate results without delay. That means you can just, after you put the sensor or the devices, you will read the data directly. Or errors, because sometimes you forget or you enter incorrect data. That means for the user interface, the data will be read automatically. You don't need anyone to input the data. And also for the developers, especially if the systems will be integrated with the human behavior for tracking for wearable devices, or for example, if the system already, if you want to tracking or make decision or analysis about the driver's behavior, if we put the sensor inside the cars and after that we update the data, and will be improve the user experience for the developers. And now, when it comes to develop a web app for IoT, what are the challenges? You should to know about these points, because designing, of course, for any web designing or web applications designing have some challenges or some rules. Also, if you are integrated with IoT, you should to thinking about the most important point is the security. Of course, some of you have some knowledge about the security issue in web and web applications, but when we talk about IoT or devices, because here we talk about the major concern when developing IoT-based application. Why? Because you have several entry points. Here, when we talk about just one sensor, it's not difficult sometimes. But when we assume, imagine that the huge number of devices already connected with your system. So in this case, the security issue should be considered first. And also here, you should be thinking about the scale. Your system, is it be able to receive or handling the high volume of requests? Because now the systems, for example, if you want just to monitoring the temperature for huge buildings, if you assume that you have 300 or 500 rooms and you want to monitoring with the same platform, so in this case you should be thinking about this point. And also for the user, customization IoT web-based user such as data science, business, and also field engineering, and also how you going to monitoring or the IT administrator. And also here, the flexibility of front-end development. In this case, you have to thinking about the IoT technology. In this part, when you are going to design, you should to think about the flexibility of the front-end development, very well how to drive or how to read the data, and are you going to update the data at the real time and analyze it at the real time or not, or you just to keep the data, how to protect also your data. Also, the life cycle management, this also will be a challenge if you have many of change or the required security. So for this part, why I prefer for the system, if you are develop your product or your system, just update your data for IoT cloud, for FAMAS or Trust platform. After that, you can use some their service like security, privacy, and many of things. And also for the connectivity and bandwidth, because now we talk about the huge of numbers of devices. If you have to thinking about this part, sometimes for you as web developers or web designer, you're thinking about how we can the bandwidth to receive the data from the user. I mean the user, human user. But now we talk about the you have huge of number of devices to monitoring the system. It's also you should be thinking about how to transfer the data. Should be faster to lower latency also. And also for the back end also you have to take in your account. It should be how we can handle or the large request from the devices. Some devices, as I told you, will be able also to read the data from your cloud or from your database. The devices itself sometimes will read some data. So you should to know about that, how you can develop at the back end, or you can take in your account this issue. And also, for you, when you are going to design your system, you have to take in your account how I can update, because in the last time, most of your websites, for example, is based on the input, the value from the user as a human. But now, when you talk about the system will be read the data from the sensors. What happens if I want to update the data to my web application or system, and I need to read the value for each second. Last time with student from FKE for healthcare application, we need to update the data to the cloud for each second in this case. So our data should be read in real time, or also for heart rate, if you want to monitoring heart rate. So in this case, that means your user interface or your system able to update the data in the real time. And in this case, you're thinking about the ability of, or the feature of the used IoT cloud platform. Is it benefit? Because, for example, for free version of IoT Think is Big, you cannot update your data to the cloud directly. You should to wait at least 15 seconds. But if you want to upgrade your feature, you have to pay, I'm not mistaken, at least $15 by year, and that's we will provide with you with the service. You will be able to update your data in each 1 second. Okay. Now, again, you already know about your system, IoT sensor nodes. This is the scenario for IoT cloud platform, and this here your web application. How you can integrate it in the simple way, integrate your web application and IoT. It's so easy, and just I will share with you one method that we have done before, just using application program interface. This the API coding. So you have to know how to read and write the data, even from the web server directly or from the cloud. So some of students now have some applications special for you. After you sitting and update, why I advise all of you to be easily to manage and solve your problem, update your data to the cloud, and after that, thinking about this. Okay, what's happened? I'm already update my data to the cloud. Now I need to read the data from the cloud to my database, to store it at my database and also my web system. Okay. And also this application program interface, I think most of you have some of knowledge about that as the developer. It's just to let some difficulties if you need to read or to create the code, it will need high skills, and also you need to write complex code. So it's easily to let your codes or to read the data. It will be so easy if you just using API code. Okay, and how an API works? Of course, this why, because for of you, if you already update the data to the cloud, now you ask yourself, never mind or no matter what is the type of the web server or the IoT cloud platform, just to ask yourself, the client application request using, you have to know the URI first for your provider, which will be different from platform to another. And after that, receiving the valid request, you can read the data and the server will send the response. That means you already read the data. And after that, you can collect the data from the cloud. Last time, we have just only one fields in the IoT Think is Big, and we update for monitoring body temperature for different number of students or users. But at the base stations and at our database, we already collected the data and monitoring is, and we use just the cloud to update the data. Just only we use the cloud to update the data. There is no data will be recorded at the cloud for a long time. Just we read it and update at our database. This, the case study, just I would like to share with you, and I will focus only with the important point when we integrated, update the data to the cloud, and how we integrated with the web devices. Okay, this is the system. This developed my student. We have the system as usual. I think most of you familiar about this sequence diagram. We have the system to read scan matrix card for the student, and also to check the body temperature for the human. I mean here the system, it's not manually recorded. The system is full automatic, will be recorded. The user no need to enter any information. Just come here to scan the card, and after that stand in front of the sensor for body temperature contactless, and after that read the value. Okay, now already collect the data at ThinkSpace, but how we can read it at and collect as usual, because most of you familiar how to develop database and also how to integrate it with your website. So it's the same. In the previous part, if you assume that the data, the fields, this will be entered manually. Now, you can assume that the data already updated, but for the cloud. Now you ask yourself how I will be able to read the data from the cloud for each time, and after that, save it as my database. And in this case, you already solved the problem and finish your project. Because if you just develop the system to update the data to the cloud and stop without design any app or web, actually your project is not match the fulfillment for BSM. So in this case, you have to think about this part. How you can do it, just as I mentioned before, you just to use API code to read the data from the ThinkSpace. And also I will share with you the source code for this part. Okay, just let us here, I will show with you this, the system. I will try to explain with you. Okay, this the system. As I mentioned before, this is the hardware. This is the hardware, this body temperature, and this just to LCD to show, and this for matrix card. This hardware, of course, this IoT system or IoT devices. And after that, when you read the data, now most of you will ask themselves, you ask yourself how we can update the data. We update the data to the cloud. The cloud we're using ThinkSpace. And now your works. This, the student already designed website-based system to mining and also to generate the reports about the recorded data by different of users. I think most of you already familiar about this registration form, how you can do it. There is nothing new in this part. Most of you, I think, familiar about to design. But now the challenge is how we can update the data. That's not coming from the user. It just come from the sensor or the devices itself. After registration, this is just the user registration as normal. We here just also in the data will be used as like ID, the matrix card. We will use it. Of course, matrix card will be also unique ID. This is just for registration for first time. And based on the RFID number, when coming, we will record the data. The challenge, how we can save the data and record the report, check in, check out, and temperature value, and also the date and time. All of this information already recorded automatically. That means the user didn't enter their temperature or the number of ID. Just automatically. When come in front of the system will read everything automatically. Let us say for this the user, and also this the database as usual, and this for all information, and this the report. All information is already recorded in the system based on the devices or based on the IoT, this web technology. But the question here, it will be how you already update the data to the cloud. Even you have, because it's not practical, if you are going to design or to add for each student one cloud, actually is not suitable solution in this case. We use just only one channels and just update the data, and we'll read the data. After we get the data from the cloud, we already know this data and give it at the database, and using SQL inquiries, you can also generate your reports based on that. Okay, I will share with you this part. As I told you before, the system will be update the data automatically to the cloud or to our system. How we do that? This just Python code. Of course, if you are going to search, you can find also different codes, PHP or in JavaScript or another code. But the idea or the method will be, of course, will be the same. See here, if also you're using different IoT platform, you can just change the server. Here, say API think speak. Just we need here to request the data from the cloud. We request the data from the cloud. Of course, as I mentioned before, any IoT cloud platform, you have some ways or some steps you should to flow it to register first. Here, after you provided with your channel, that means I am already create my channel, and also will update the data from the sensor to the same channel. And after that, we have the API key that's already provided by the IoT cloud platform. I use this key also now to read. After that, to update. Now, just data, JSON, loads, response. In this case, I will get or fetch the data from the cloud to my system. I read, we call it fits, this based on the structure of IoT think of speak. And here you observe field 1, field 2, we have field 1 and field 2. That's when we created our channels for IoT student. We already learned or studied that last class. We learn you how to update your data or to create your IoT channel. Here, this is the metric card. We just set the variables, user data. This coming now from the cloud. And this is the temperature value for the real time. That means I will read it each time. And after that, I have to record also the date time. Now, the new data. That means the new samples that's entered. The differentiate between the users and how to generate the reward, this will be the next stage based on SQL or your query language. Here, now you have temperature value, data time, and now just put at your database system for the new data. This data didn't come in from the graphic user interface. The data coming from the sensor, but the sensor update the data to the cloud. So you can do the same if you want. If you have different IoT platform or different system, you can do the same. The idea or the key point here, if you want to read or update the data to your web system, you should to have enough skills how to read the API code and also how to do that. You just actually now this task is not difficult because most of the IoT platform or the cloud provide with you with the API key. It's like for cloud computing service, if you want to translate or translate from language to others, just to use the servers, they will give you or provide you with the API. Is the same. This is the idea. This just I shared with you for the last year student, how we solved the problem, integrated the IoT devices with to design our system. Now we read the data from the cloud. As I told you, why I prefer to learn this skills, because in future, of course, there are not just only one student. Okay, let us imagine this scenario. If you have this temperature and the humidity, this smart system for contactless temperature monitoring, and also we have, for example, for air quality system, and we have many of systems. If you want to integrate it in one website or one application, you have to read the data from the cloud. So in this case, no matter if we assume that this system will be at Malaysia, and we have another system in different countries, we can integrate it directly, just read the data from the cloud. At the end of the session, I would like to remind you, if you want to be master or to improve your skills in IoT and how you can develop new application for IoT system, first you have to learn the IoT scenario very well, not just to memorize or to read the definition. Just try to take some simple system, and based on that system, start to learn what is the type of sensors, what is the type of IoT sensor board, and planning your system. After that, what is the standard communication that I am going to use it, and update the data. I am going to design my own system or server. That means no need the cloud. I can update my data to my web server, or it's better to update for the IoT cloud server, and after that, I will be read it by my application or my web system. I should to learn also about application program interface skills, not just for IoT platform, and also for cloud computing skills. So in this case, it will be easily for you to integrate your IoT system and also with designer or web applications. And you have to remember at the end of the session, anytime 1 hour of planning will save 3 hours of execution. That means before you are going to design or to develop or to do anything, first take the enough time to planning first about your system, and that will save your time during the execution. That's all. Okay, that's all. And now we will start for question and answer session.
Thank you, Dr. Nayef. We will go ahead and take some time for Q&A section now. Just a reminder, please be sure you unmute your mic to ask the questions, or you can just simply type your questions into the chat box in English. I will pass these sections to my team member, Bing Wei.
Okay, thank you everyone. Now is our Q&A section. For the first question, Doctor, what is the biggest challenge faced by Dr. Nayef in IoT industry?
Okay, the first challenge here, if you didn't know the structure or the skills in how you can, sometimes like me, before I am go in this field, I just have skills in programming for normal programming using C or using Visual Basic or C# or another platform. But the main challenge is how to programming for IoT devices is, of course, challenge, especially if you want to optimize some problems. If you want, for example, to read the max or the main value in the normal program language, you have already just function to read it directly and call it from the devices. But if you are going for the embedded system, we talk about how you can program with the low resource, like limited resource, like memory size. And in this case, you have to write your own code to do simple tasks. You can use it by another devices. But of course, it's not difficult task. It's easily way. And now most of the companies, as I told you last time, I do some discussion with one company in UK about integrated some traditional or product for smart metering with IoT technology. Here, for me, I didn't face some difficulties because my background is computer engineering. I have good knowledge about electronic and something like that. But for you, is not difficult, because now most of the current integrated system, it's easily just plug and play. No need many of skills or do deeply how to design the circuit, but learn how to use it, how to read the data. And also, if you want to know Also, the challenge in the IoT technique itself, also there are some challenges related for the power. Also for the power. Last time I implemented around 20 nodes inside UTHM campus and to monitoring the temperature and the humidity and light in the building of FKE. I observed that in the practical, sometimes when you go, we just went to monitoring the battery can drop off, or the finish of the battery during 3 or 4 hours. And after that, we're thinking about how that affect, and I change the battery, and also in this case, I developed new methods to solve it. But anyway, the challenge, if you want to go in this direction, just for you already have enough skills as BSM or as computer science student. You already have, I believe that you already have good skills in programming. Just change your mind how to think. Instead of read the data from the text box, from the label that will be entered, just read the data from the devices. Second.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. The second question is, Doctor, what is the future potential of IoT?
Okay, now most of the devices or most of the technology, they will ask it some skills. They will ask if you have some skills about IoT. As I told you, now most of the factories, especially if they will transfer from the industry version 1, version 3, we are currently in industry version 3 to industry version 4. Of course, if you are a good developer in the web, maybe they will ask you to integrate some sensor or to read even, okay, if you let us in that, if we have some IoT engineering, they already installed and developed the devices. But they will ask you as web developer to collect the data in one website or one application. So in this case, you have to know the scenario.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. And the next question is, do you think the current trend of increasingly advanced IoT is beneficial or harmful to the people?
Yeah. Now, if you will search also for the job, if you will observe now, and also the salary for IoT developer engineering, they called it now. The salary, I think, is, I'm not sure about in Malaysia, but in outside, and the salary is around $100,000 per year for the IoT engineering. IoT engineering, that means we cannot just mention, as I told you, about electronic experience. Just for you, if you want to be IoT engineering, is because for you, this is your chance. Because most of you have good experience in cloud computing, have good experience in web designing. Just add in your CV the IoT. That will add benefit for you, and your opportunity will be high in future.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Next question is, which tutorial website that Doctor recommend for the beginner?
Okay, so to design or to learn about IoT? Okay, which design? Okay, if you want to learn the IoT, let us say the question. Okay, for software, as I mentioned earlier, you have to learn that during the IoT course, we learned the student, we teach them how to programming using Arduino. And the background is about C language for Arduino. And also you can use Python. It's not matter about the software, it's about the skills itself. For example, you can using Python if you are familiar with Python. If you are familiar with C or C++, it's okay for you. You can use it. Because the idea here, in simple description, learn how to read the data from the microprocessor, from the devices, input and output data. This is the new skills that you have. But for the fundamentals of programming, you will be professional if you have good skills in programming. But if you didn't understand also the scenario, actually you will face some problem. So for you, it's if you are going, for example, to develop your system, as again, IoT, ThinkSpeak, this is just a platform to update the data. Arduino is just board. You can use different boards like Lebelium, Opsumute, and each board have specification. Based on that, just prepare yourself to have the skills. Even, for example, the company will use, for example, Node microcontroller unit. For you, it will not be difficult. You need just 1 or 2 weeks to be familiar with the new environment, but you already gained the skills. That's what I mean.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. And the next question is, may I know what are the future career opportunity for one studying for IoT?
Okay, this how control smart, this the last question. Okay. Again, for this question, how we can control smart devices by using IoT and how?
No. Now is the Wong Pai Yong's question. May I know what are the future career opportunity for one studying for IoT?
Yeah, for IoT now, if you will found the job, they will ask again the most of the company and also the most of the industry. They will ask especially web developer IoT skills. If you have background about that, they will ask you about this point. There are many of, if you will search now in Indeed, in LinkedIn, you will find, just write IoT developer engineering or IoT, you will know about that. You will say the trends now in this part. Even you still just be able to design the traditional websites, it's okay, but now the new feature, we talk about smart cities, we talk about smart environment. So in this case, you should to be familiar about this new technology. And for the next question,
I guess a question from Ong Perui, same like Wong Payong. So we move to Yuvan question.
okay.
Okay, so for the Yuan question, his question is, Doctor, what is your recommend software to use to learn the IoT software use?
Okay, again, for IoT, it's not like IoT, we have talk about structure of new technology. That's mean if you want to start to learn the fundamentals of IoT, okay, just if you want, you can. I will share with you. If for my students, they already know, already shared with them. We learn the IoT as the beginner. IoT use Arduino platform, and you can select simple sensor like light or water quality or water level, and try to design so simple system, update the data, and also the cost of the kit or the board, it's around 30 ringgit. It's not expensive. And after that, you can use IoT ThinkSpeak, and you can get the materials already shared with the student and update the data to the cloud. After that, ask yourself how I can integrate it with my app. I can also read from the cloud. How you can just ask how I can read API code from the cloud. And also for Android developers, if you will search, you will get Bucket, already support for ThinkSpeak platform. Already supported, you can install or download it in your Android developer, and you can read the data directly from the cloud. Even now, if you will try, you can just search in the web application, some web already developed. Just they will ask you the channel number for IoT ThinkSpeak, and you can just enter the channel number and you can say your data in your mobile directly. This is some of application. So easily way for you if you want to learn with the simple things first. Again, you can use Arduino Uno. Arduino Uno need Wi-Fi shells, and this is the cost will be for Wi-Fi shield around 40 ringgit based on certain company in Johor Bahru. But I advise for you Node microcontroller is around 15 ringgit, and also you can use humidity and temperature sensor around 5 ringgit, and now you can start just connected the circuit and update the data, and you can start to do many of project. Okay, now someone, if you will ask, if even I didn't just to develop the system directly without hardware, you can, there are in IoT, think is big, there are many of public channels. These public channels already provided by others. You can just read the data to your website if you want to practice.
Oh, I see. So for the last question is asked by Haris. He asked how we control smart device by using the IoT and how the IoT technology connect with others apps, with the apps.
Okay. When you talk about smart devices, again, IoT is new technology. IoT also part from the smart device. If you will say this is smart devices, what do you mean about smart device? Is it mobile? Is it controller at, for example, if I have now at open or close the door, or monitoring the flooding, or something of devices. If how IoT use the smart devices, again, your object or your devices, you need to read it by microcontroller. IoT is not just one bar. How to read it? After read the devices, you have to make the decision to your application. As I mentioned before ending this session, when you update your data to your web server or your cloud, you have, if you want to read it using your app, just think about application programming interface, API. Okay, how you can read it. And in this case, it will be easy for you to manage the devices.
Okay, thank you. And there is the last question from Mohammed No Hakimi. He asked, as a IoT beginner, how we start our IoT first project?
Okay, as I mentioned many of times about this, okay, already shared. If some of the students, all of you, I will, if you want, I will invite all of you, because you already have some fundamentals, to practical session. This practical session for a small project, you have to provide it just the board, or if you want, you can attend with the student at the coming next Sunday. We already start with update the data from the board to the cloud, and it actually is not difficult task. With the practical session, I will provide the code. Just put the code and you can update, and after that you will learn how to meaning, how to edit, how to modify your code. If you want, I think you can share the materials that we already learned in IoT. We just our materials. I prepared the materials for computer science students, because I know some of the students didn't have background about electronics, about circuits, something like that. But we already shared some fundamentals, not difficult, so easy. What about the resistance, the power, how we can wiring, and also we have because we have online learning, we solve this problem by using virtual lab. That means if you want to learn without buying any materials or any tools, just go for the virtual lab, and you can put Arduino and start play and change in the code. But for practical part, I asked it compulsory for all of the students to have the board, because we need to start to practical. Because this part, I will be honest with you, practical skills is very important. Because theory, you can read, but try to do it by yourself. It will be easily for you.
Yeah, Dr. Nayef, I have one question.
Okay.
Okay. What do you think about the Tesla car that do the automated driving? Is that can be considered as an IoT or it is an independent system that works on the car itself? What do you think? And then, is there any possibility of hijacking the information or do harmfuls for the data that already transmitted from the Tesla car to the cloud or to another sensor devices? Do you have anything that you can share about this?
Okay, thank you for very interested questions. And also for when you talk about the systems for automated drivers or something like that, that means we have autonomous system. In this case, if again, it is in simple words, if the system, any system, even the system, autonomous systems, unable to exchange the data wirelessly, in this case, we cannot say the system based on IoT system. So what happens if you have, for example, automatic drivers and we need to also to update the data to the cloud for analysis and also for make decision or to record the behaviors of the drivers. In this case, we're thinking about one thing, how I will be read, for example, now last time, as I mentioned, we already discussed this with one company from UK, the already devices unable to exchange the data. So in this case, based on your knowledge about IoT, ask yourself how I can read the data. I mean the environment, the parameters from the system. Now I have to provide it also another tool, GSM, for example, because inside the car, we assume that there is no Wi-Fi. We have GSM SIM card to provide it for the internet and update the data to the cloud. And from the cloud, we can manage. And of course, for each devices, we have one unique ID code, ID number, and based on that, we can analyze and manage our data. Last time, we proposed such a project like that for Sun Traffic company, for that, for behavior and to reduce the traffic for accident, to detect the accidents directly in the road.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nayef.
Welcome.
Okay, since the Q&A okay, so now I will pass to the host, Chong Jing.
Thank you, Bing Wei. Dr. Nayef, is there anything else you want to cover before we wrap up?
Okay, just I will invite you, all of you, if you want, I will share the materials for IoT, especially for fundamentals. And if you have time, just join the next practical lab. I will share the code. And if it's possible to provide the symbol board for Node microcontroller, I think you can order it using Shopee or using Lazada. It's around 50 rings. No need, okay, I will tell you, no need to provide any sensors because we can assume that the value of sensors, just the variables, enter any default or any random value, and to learn how to update the data to the cloud. Okay, you can join by next week, and even if you want, we can organize another practical session for all of the students if you want.
All right. It's a good offer, a valuable one.
Yeah.
How about Dr. Zuraidin?
Yeah, I just learned a lot today, okay, because practically I have already known about IoT, and then most of them is a test bed. It's not a real industry experience, and it's very fundamentals. And then hopefully as a web technology student, you may have roles in this IoT practicality or development based on what Dr. Nayef shared today. And then finally, of course, I would like to thank on behalf of faculty and UTHM, and Dr. Nayef himself is a faculty member.
We are part of SBTM and this our student.
Yeah, and then we appreciate your sharing session, and then your offer is very valuable. Maybe we can talk about it for the IoT practical session. Okay. I know when we want to integrate all of these board sensors and then send data to the cloud and then do the input and output, integrate with API, and then what data we have for the analysis in cloud. So it involves a lot of parameters. So that is the problem. You already have all of that things, especially the programming. You already have the idea of the client-server communication. All of that thing is quite fundamental. It's the same thing actually, but in the different platform and environment. Okay, I believe that for the third year student, you already have all of these fundamentals, and then you maybe hunger with the real practical, so that you can learn and you can practice what you have been taught in theory. Okay, once again, thank you, Dr. Nayef, and congratulate to Group 7 for this webinar. All right, that's all from me.
Thank you, Dr. Zuraidin. All right, then our team would like to express our symbol of gratitude toward our special guest, Dr. Nayef, our course instructor, Dr. Zuraidin, and the audience. Just before ending to the event, we would like to have a photographic sections, and please fill in the attendance form before you leave. Now, I would like to pass these sections to my team member, Mabel.
Hey, hello everyone. Please turn on your camera. All right. Anyone else want to open up your camera?
Come on, guys.
It's okay.
Anybody else?
It's okay. Okay, ready? 1. I see someone opening up. Anyone else? Okay, everyone ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, please don't forget to fill in your attendance, everyone. Okay, thank you.
That's all for our webinar. Thanks again for joining. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nayef.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nayef. Thank you, Dr. Zuraidin.